apparently the HOLOSTARS are kind of, are in a little bit of trouble or so. So HOLOSTARS ENs has responded to the recent I'm curious what the HOLOSTARS say about this situation. So apparently because like they're not really making enough money or so, they're kind of like cutting like support and everything a little bit more lower for them. So I've heard about this. I have heard about this.
Okay, so it seems like there's been a little bit of an update to the whole HOLOSTAR situation, and this one seems to be a pretty interesting one that has been continuing on and on. And yeah, essentially we are talking about HOLOSTAR's management structure getting a change, and yeah, a lot of the members have been reacting, and I kind of wanted to go through some more reactions from some of the HOLOSTAR's members, including also the EN members who aren't as affected by this as much as I have seen, at least. Although they did, it doesn't seem like they're doing auditions anymore. But yeah, essentially, there's been a couple of discussions, including this one from Robberu, I think that's what they're called. And
no more 3Ds getting downsized. We weren't good enough.
Essentially, they are, yeah, in the second, I think they're in the second generation of HOLOSTARS, JP. And yeah, they talked about it and talked about what was going on and what was going to happen.
Take care, Jed. Be safe. Thank you for coming by as always. Very much appreciated. So you take care. You be safe, hun.
なんかやばい発表されたらしいじゃん。一旦どうなるかっていうと、まあ縮小一応まずここ
Also, I gotta say, this dude has such a positive, reaction for such a, like, harsh bit of news, right?
はい。真面目ものね、ここから。ここはまず最初に言っておくと、まあ、これに関しては、本当に、もう我々の力不足。これマジで。これは、俺は声を大にし。
I'm like, at the end of the day, I don't really see advertisement of the HOLOSTARS. I mostly see advertisements of the girls, the HoloLive girls, instead of the guys. And then you have to look at it. The business guys have to look at it and see, like, okay, why are we failing in this? What is missing? How can we grab these female audience spaces? What are we doing wrong that Niji Sanji actually did pretty well? I'm like, you have to look at it scientifically or so to see why they are like basically going downward, while Niji Sanji initially hold the entire female fan base to the fucking tits and everything, I haven't seen any single ads for the HOLOSTARS. That's how you know you failed as a business person, if you did not advertise very well to the HOLOSTAR because I mostly see the females. Most of the time, I see female advertisement a lot more compared to the guys. That's all I have to say, But like I said, that's just me only, so.
で、まあこういう結果はまあ受け入れるしかないので、我々っていうか僕はね、受け入れるしかないので、まあそこは仕方がないことかなと。ハッピーになれるような配信をね、僕はしたいと思ってるので、夕刻ロベルポジティブニュース。ロベルさんそんなこと言っちゃっていいのみたいな感じになるかもしれないんですけど。
Damn, chat. It means I won't be able to apply for the HOLOSTARS, I won't be able to apply to HOLOSTARS. Damn it, dude. I can finally turn off my voice changer, Here, watch. I'll turn it off right now, chat. I'll turn off my voice changer right now so you guys can listen to it.
Oh my god, man. Honestly, I wish I would have gotten to HOLOSTARS. I'm just saying, man. But oh well, it is what it is, man. It's just this is it right here. This is the real voice right here, chat. Okay. And my community on YouTube as well. This is my real voice right here. Okay. I am the, what was it again? 40-year-old or 50-year-old? Oh yeah, 40-year-old Gonda man. There you go. You sound like a gay man. Exactly, man. Exactly. I'm just saying, man. Like, I have to put on this voice changer because, at the end of the day, they like the women at the end of the day. A la verga, que... A la verga, hombre. Hell yeah, man. I've been a dude the entire time, bro. That's all I gotta say, man. This is it right here. This is my $10,000 voice changer that I use, okay? Watch me turn it back up, okay? All right, here we go.
Oh. There it is. See, chat. This voice is making me feel tingly inside. Stopped at 40, but has the memory of a 50-year-old. Your mom has the memory of a 50-year-old. So, you know, that's my voice changer. Trust me, Chad. I spend $10,000 a month for my voice changer. Trust me, Chad. This is the reason why we can't afford things, okay? I spend 10,000 every single month or so for this voice changer. 5 out of 10 people are gonna fall for the bait. Shh! Don't tell him. Don't tell him. Don't tell him. Okay? Don't tell him. All right? Don't tell him that. All right? Shh!
私も揃いでやります。
Let them fall for it.
これビビるぐらいに多分反響が多かったことなんですけど、ジョヤのケツ、スタジオ使わせていただけることになってるので、ジョヤのケツ今年やります。はい。まあ今回ああいう形でちょっと弊社からまあこういう制約がつきますよっていうのは出たんですけど、夕刻ロベルはそんなに変わらない
Yeah,
です。
because your mama be paying it from her OnlyFans.
やることをこれに関してはもう僕のことしかわからないので、他のメンバーがどう思ってるかとか、他のメンバーがどういう風に今後の活動をしていくかっていうのも僕は
So yeah, obviously that's pretty interesting, right? In the sense that he said that, you know, he is
Exactly,
still allowed
that's the
to use
reason
the
why.
studio for one thing, and he's also doing a solo event on his own. So again,
That
it
is
seems
kinda
like not
saddening,
much
though,
has
I'm not
actually
gonna
changed
lie,
for
of
him
what's
in
going on with
regards.
the
And I think it's going to be
HOLOSTARS.
a kind of person by person thing. I think a lot of the talent, you know, depend on these kind of group events that they do that won't
I'm super curious. I'm very curious to see if they're gonna start quitting or so, depending how restrictive it is for the male talents. I am super curious to see if, like, you know, they're gonna start like being more more strict and more restrictive on them specifically on the things that they want to do, and then they get tired or so. My question is, how good is the support for them is still going to be? Are they gonna start quitting one by one after a while now? More reasons to go indie. That is very true. That is also pretty true on top of that. But then at the same time, the company failed them specifically. It's not them failing Hololive. The Hololive company themselves failed these boys.
be a thing anymore to kind of get their events in.
But
So obviously they might have to step up in terms of making their own events and making their own stuff, which of course might
No.
be a different kind of challenge for them.
No.
So
No.
yeah, it definitely seems like it's affecting
Stop
people
it.
in different ways, right? And obviously, yeah, Robert here obviously has a kind of positive outlook on it,
わ
right?
からないので、僕は何にも変わりません。僕ははい。びっくりするぐらいネガティブにならなかったんですよね。なんかネガティブになったってしょうがないじゃないですか。
Don't know. That's
結
a
果
bit
が
of a
こうなっちゃったん
stretch.
で、まあ、僕は割と今までやってきたことも間違いではないと思ってるんですよ。僕はね、僕はネガティブな配信は絶対にしたくないので、理由は面白くないからそんなの。
That is very true. He's not wrong on that
なの
one.
でまあ僕自身は本当に何一つ変わらず配信もしますし、それこそ揃い部だったりとかいろん
It
な
is
ことを
kind of shitty though. I'm
や
not
って
gonna lie.
いくだけなので僕ははいだからなんか夕刻ロベルに関しては割と強い精神といいますか保っております私は。でやっぱり
So yeah, obviously he's saying that, you know, essentially he wants to keep things positive. He doesn't want to, you know, make anything negative, and I think that's fair enough, right? And yeah, I mean, it kind of just goes to show that yeah, there is a lot of different individual situations. I think whenever it comes to this, I think, you know, maybe some of them might, you know, have it worse than others. I feel like yeah, Robert here is in a pretty good place. I love you saying, you know, they remain a positive son, saying they haven't been defeated. He sees it as a moment of change, and the best way forward is to be positive and not let it fall apart. It's difficult and even sad, but I believe the most positive approach is to keep going and not let this situation defeat them. We must all remember this with great strength, and Roveru reminds us of it with that legendary broadcast. Are you winning, son? Roveru, yes.
It remember, right? Suisse was the one that was like basically a diamond in the rough or so, where she also had a hard time at the very beginning. Because there's a documentary or so specifically talking about Suisse, and now she is the most. Now look at Suisse how she is now, you know. I'm just saying that is true. But do you want your fate to lie with your own hands or someone else? In my point, what else? What happened to these guys can happen. Can happen to any corpo VTuber. Yeah, but the problem is I've never seen any advertisements for the guys. It's mostly been the girls only. Like it's only been girls. Like straight up. That's the thing. Let me see. Let me take a look at this real fast. Let's pop up their Twitter real quick. Let me pop this shit out. Let's see real quick. Hololive. So when was the last time that Hololive specifically advertised? So this is the JP. We're taking a look at the JP branch, okay? What was the last time that they advertised the guys? Girls. The girls. Do HoloStars have like a separate Twitter page or something? They have to have a separate Twitter, right? Let me see. Following. Maybe they have a HoloStars. Maybe they have a HoloStars channel, maybe? Perhaps? I mean, these are all girls. Oh, here. Well, that's the English one. We don't need the English one. We need the Japanese one. That's what we need. VTuber radios. This is EN branch. Are they all under the same branch? Impossible, right? Here, HoloStars JP. Is there has to be HoloStars JP, right? No, it's literally straight up from Cover Corp. Girls. Suisse right here. Girls. Is there any HoloStars? Any male HoloStars at least? On any of their, on any of their it'll probably be, but the problem is like this is the EN side of things though. I'm like, they only have like 168k followers to begin with, compared to the girls. I'm like, their engagement is not really that crazy. And then, let me see here. I put on the Hololive girls real quick. We put Hololive JP at least. But the reason is because they mostly made like catered towards guys at the end of the day. 1.7 million followers compared to 168k followers. And then if we go to, and then we open up another one specifically, right? Let's take a look at the EN side of things real fast. Here's the English side of HoloSci. What if some of those dudes tried to even offer ideas for promos, but they were denied? If I'm not wrong, wasn't Doki Bird experiencing in the corpo world being denied at what she did for the creative department? She got denied for some things in general, if I remember correctly. Even though she was like one of the oldest members, Here's a merch. Here's a merch for the ENs, but this was back in March 28. They're advertising a Let's Play, but as you can see, the numbers aren't really crazy compared to, And then let's take a look at completely at the Hololive Girls EN side of things. Let's see. Hololive EN, right? If you just compare numbers specifically and why it specifically failed or so, you can tell where most of their audiences is at to begin with, right? Like that's number one. And then also, this is supposed to be EN, but they're still advertising JP members on their EN side of things. Yeah. Yeah, see more big global advertisements with, you know, with a mix of the JP and what is the other branch or so that Hololive, it's India, right? Hololive India, right? Or was it, I forgot what it was. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't keep up with this. But like, or was it Malaysia? Fuck, I don't even know. Sorry, guys. Indo? Indo. Yeah, thank you. I don't keep track of it at the end of the day. But as you can see specifically, most of they bring, you know, if they bring the Indonesia branch or so with the EN side of things, you know, because this is supposed to be an EN thing, right? I thought they were going to only advertise EN people, but they have a JP person in here. They got JP as well in here with Indonesia at the same time. And then you keep scrolling down or so, you know, you can kind of see where the problem is specifically while, you know, we got the HOLOSTARS, right? This is the EN side of the HOLOSTARS, right? We scroll down. I'm like, you kind of don't really see the JP side of things on this side. It's a lot of the ENs. And then if we look at the JP side of things, it's only the JPs. It's almost like there's no, like, it almost looks like there's no interaction with the JP HOLOSTARS and the EN HOLOSTARS compared to JP. You have the EN side, and then you have the JP side. You also have the Indonesia side, you know, all correlating with one another, you know? That I'm not too sure. I can't tell you that information. Check Liz, he is often collabing with HOLOSTARS. Oh, really? That's kind of like the problem or so, like specifically when it comes to this. Like you can there's like some weird correlation separation here compared to Hololive EN. Like at the end of the day, I get it. I completely understand, you know, their sole core audiences is towards females. It makes sense. You want to advertise your females, but if you start making an a male branch or so in the EN side or just a male branch in general, right? You also got to support them as best as you can, you know? Someone's making those decisions for promo, which leads to my point. Do you really want to hand your fate to someone else's hands? My question is if they even did point any like, hey, you know, what, you know, any like promo that they would suggest or so to them specifically compared to like the bigger popular girls. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest here, I think there is definitely some sort of favoritism in companies, because you know for a fact when you get your golden goose girl or your golden goose guy, you want them to be super comfortable at the end of the day. You don't want them to leave, and you want to give them as much as the best as you can. That's kind of basically is how it's going to be. It's very unfortunate that this is happening, but I will have to say though, the company did fail these boys.
So yeah, of course, you know, a lot of people have been supporting him, which obviously is great to see. There's also been, as well, as I said, some you know, EN members of HOLOSTARS commenting on it, because of course, you know, a lot of it is to do with the JP side, but HOLOSTARS EN is also kind of, you know, they are worried because, you know, they're very closely attached. It could be them next, right?
Yeah. It's not surprising for the EN side.
Axel talks about it essentially on here. Now, it's quite a long clip, so I'll give you the kind of cliff notes from it. They say, support from the JP side. They acknowledged the fact that the surprising news regarding the holiday
Then why? It's because of Nichi Sanji holding a good majority or so of the female audiences over there, and how popular it was or so on the Nichi Sanji side. Remember, right? Remember when the first wave of men that came out or so on Nichi Sanji? How big of a splash that thing made or so? Oh, it was crazy. Before the controversies, anyways, but you know. But Nichi Sanji knows, while Hololive doesn't know.
Stars JP branch said he urges fans to continue showing love and support to the JP members by tuning into their streams and events. He admits that many fans are worried about HOLOSTARS EN following this news. While he can't give specific details due to management rules, he acknowledges the situation is difficult and
I did apply to Nichi Sanji 2 times before the controversy. I talked about it multiple times.
the future is somewhat uncertain, and that's in regards to EN. They actually emphasizes that the EN members must lock in and work harder than ever to avoid similar outcomes or consequences.
It could be at the end of the day. Number one, it could be a multiple amalgamations, right? Number one, the company failed these boys. That's to begin. That's number one. That's what I'm, going towards, right? Number two, it could be maybe they didn't hire the right talents. Maybe the designs of the models weren't really that great either. Like, I'm not saying like the boys are talentless or anything like that, right? Maybe they didn't hire the right people. Maybe they should have done this or done that. Like I said, it could be multiple things at the end of the day. I'm not saying they're talentless, okay? Don't you dare change my words that I'm saying these boys are talentless, okay? All right, that is not where I'm going with this subject, okay? It's just at the end of the day, you have to think of the perspective of like, okay, like what failed? Was it the boys? Was it the models? Was it our advertisement? King is a fake fan. Bet he remembers all the lore for the other co.
Future. Axel clarifies that
I did also apply to Hololive. I also talked about it on stream as well.
And other EN members who recently moved to Japan had no idea about these upcoming changes before they relocated. Said he admits that finding out about the news shortly after moving was scary, especially since he is now committed to living in Japan for the next 2 to 3 years. Despite the fear, he views his situation as a double-edged sword that forces him to give 100% to his content since he is already there. So yeah, it seems like a couple of them have obviously moved to Japan and started up almost like a new life, right? Obviously as a VTuber, it tends to happen quite a lot, especially with Hololive, because they're closer and they can all interact in person as well with each other to get like chemistry going and stuff.
Design a model
that
for
tends
them,
to be a very common thing.
Man, if I had to design models for these boys or so in general, I could probably think of some.
It happens, and obviously they've moved to Japan, and all of this news has come out, and obviously it's pretty worrying for someone, right? If you just moved to a new country and you have just kind of like picked up everything and left to go there and to do this job, for people around you to be kind of losing a lot of the kind of support that they were getting before. Obviously it can be worrying for someone that maybe has moved and kind of devoted themselves to it, but as he says, it's something that is going to push him even further whenever it comes to content creation.
Yeah, but you want to know something that I won't forget about King? Water is wet.
And continuing to essentially do as much as he can to succeed, and essentially that's the kind of mindset I think a lot of the EN HOLOSTARS members do have, because it seems that they're going to keep on pushing and keep on trying, so they don't end up kind of in the same position that a lot of the JP members are at the moment, because it seems like they still have a little bit of time, right? They say he highlights no matter how much how hard the talents work, they ultimately rely on the support of the fans to keep the branch alive. Axel mentions that some talents have taken mental hits recently due to the behind-the-scenes developments and asks for patience. He tells fans that if the news is too stressful, they should feel free to take a break from the sphere and prioritize their own well-being. He asks the community to stay mature and refrain from attacking or lashing out because of the announcement, which obviously, I think it's fair enough, right? And of course, I think it's understandable that some people are going to be mentally and like kind of stressed and whatever, especially as a HOLOSTARS EN member, because now you've got this kind of like thing breathing down your neck, right? Of like, if you don't
But I
perform,
also fact checked
you
your
know,
mom.
it could be bad, right? It could be, you know, you might end up in the same kind of position as the HoloStars JP people, which is something that they don't want to happen, right? Because they want to provide the best content possible, including the concerts, the events, the merch, all of that kind of stuff, right? So again, definitely, you know, it's going to cause a lot more stress for them as they try to pump out more content and try to, you know, do as much as they possibly can. I say Axel saying that he has to really lock in or suffer the fate of the JP boys, and he might be stuck for 2 to 3 years in Japan after moving there with his career hanging over his head. Not a good situation. It's like he sees the writing on the JP wall, and it could be the EN boys next. Even before Regis had undergone multiple hiatuses because of how stressed he was due to complications behind the scenes, especially when Magni and Vesper quit. You know, it's so damn sad that Cover doesn't know what to do with male talents. They've constantly been pushed to the side and ignored by management in favor of the girls, despite the success.
Yes, that is very true, to be honest. They have been pushed aside or so because, you know, well, at the end of the day, can you really blame the business people? You know, if your cash cow is the females and they're bringing in the most money. But at the end of the day, you hold the sole responsibility of hiring these boys. I'm like, you hired these boys, and it's your responsibility, you know? You know, so not gonna apply to Phase Connect. I also applied to Phase Connect. The last time they did a thingy thing or so to apply or so, I applied to it. Didn't get accepted or so, as you can tell.
They've had with Armis and Uproar, and I think
no, that one I didn't
understandable.
say. That one I
but
did
also
not say.
I think there is a big kind of sentiment going around that a lot of a lot of people don't watch male VTubers and things like that, which obviously, you know, there is a big male VTuber kind of what do you call it? I don't know what we
yeah,
call
you
it.
guys
Audience.
know.
Yeah, that's it. Whenever it comes to, you know, places like Neji Sanji, right? Neji Sanji has such a large audience for male VTubers, and obviously it seems like maybe Cover hasn't really hit the heights that, you know, Neji Sanji has right now.
It's definitely the model design, and it's definitely the advertisement for the boys.
Maybe they will in the future, right? But it seems like obviously it just something isn't working, right? Some people aren't watching it, and there's always the jokes going around saying like a real HoloStars fan never watches HoloStars, which obviously is kind of true, right? It seems like a lot of people are there to support them whenever stuff like this happens, but whenever it comes to actually watching their streams, interacting in their chats and all of that kind of stuff, you never really see as many people as, you know, you see whenever they are chatting on Twitter about how much they miss them or how much they're sad that they're going through a lot of stress, right?
I'll be honest with you, as someone, right, who wouldn't mind seeing a male VTuber, right, to watch behind the scenes, I get zero advertisement for these things. I literally get no advertisement. It's the same thing with 2XKO. I saw zero advertisement that 2XKO came out, and I'm just kind of like, what? As someone disagree, what happened with to this guy is what's happening in the music industry, where they don't want to invest money in someone in the long term. They invest on people that are bring them in short-term profit. Granted, the girls actually bring long-term profit to begin with because they were there from the very start. So, wait, didn't you mention you did apply to Phase Connect, or am I high? Probably I did, to be honest, but I think only like a few people knew about it though. They hired in at a time of uncertainty, but now the answer is clear. But they also can't just fire them all, so they have to leave on their own terms. My question is, if it's gonna make them like, are they gonna put them in difficult situations to force them to leave? Because I know for a fact that's how JP is. Like, they don't really like fire you. They kind of like force you in a very uncomfortable situation to the point that you leave.
Actually want to support them, go and watch their stream, right? Even if you're like leaving it on in the background, right? I think that is exactly what you should do if you really care about their future and if you really care about their success, right? And if you don't, that's fine, right? You don't have to, you know, comment about it and, you know, talk about it all the time. That's fine, right? But obviously, if you're the one that is commenting, tweeting and saying, oh my God, I can't believe this would happen. Like, how dare they do this? And you're not watching them, you better get watching them because you got no place to talk, right? But yeah, I mean, the
girls are mostly likely to bring the short-term money though. With the guys, you got to invest in them for the long haul and to build them up. That is pretty true at the end of the day. You're not wrong on that one. It could be. It could be. That could be like the short-term gain or so. Because remember, right? Female, cute female, or hot female, guys come in and fluctuate. You know, when it comes to guys or so, it's more of a slow. It's a slow burner. You know, zero support is their answer. Basically, if you live, you live. You leave, you leave. Yeah, I'm curious to see if they actually like just stop supporting them in general, like management wise and support in other things in general too as well, which I'm going to be pretty concerned about the guys. But the problem is like I've never got any advertisement for these boys. I've gotten advertised literally when I open up my phone or so. There's literally an advertisement of a Hololive video game for the girls, but there's nothing for the guys. You know, I'm like, I get no advertisement for the guys. The clippers are mostly guys who are clipping the girls stream or so, but you got nothing of that sort of nature for the guys in general. You know, I mostly see clips from the girls. I don't really see clips from the guys.
It's essentially those two responses from kind of both sides of the HoloStars places. I do think it's very interesting, especially with the earlier clip that we discussed with the him still getting some of the what do you call it, like the studio space and whatever for certain things. So it seems like they will have access to it, just not as much as they have, and a lot of things will be restricted.
We can blame
they
women
can't
for this?
They can't be as
Okay.
open and free as maybe
Basically
they
stop
want to
supporting them, bet
in
they
terms
are
of
shutting
using
down
like
any
studio
ideas or
space
projects.
and concerts and all that kind of stuff. A lot of that.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully it's not that extreme at least. Hopefully they still get some support at the end of the day. Who needs to open a VTuber studio and grab HoloStar boys? Okay, I don't have that kind of money, okay? Alright. If I'm not wrong, this year Hololive also didn't announce their auditions yet, but maybe it just wasn't a date. They didn't? Fuck, I don't even remember, to be honest. That's all I gotta say. I don't really remember though. That is pretty down. Dude, if we see the fall of Hololive or so, that'd be the day or so. And then fucking Niji Sanji is the only one of the big threes that survive or so. Jesus Christ. Honestly, that is a thing and a half to see if that actually happens though. But yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. Yeah, overall, it's kind of saddening to see it, but at the end of the day, I think the company just completely failed them overall because I didn't even see any advertisement for these guys. Yeah, Hololive doesn't have new talent since 2024. Whoa. I remember playing to Hololive last year. Anyways, I thought they were stopping auditions to focus on their talents. I have no idea, to be frankly honest. I'm gonna be very honest with you. Imagine? No. I'm being realistic. It's not gonna happen, to be honest. Anyways, that's the end of the video. And shit, man. I feel bad for the boys. I will be honest with you. I do feel bad for the boys. But it, Hololive just completely failed them to begin with. If you watch Roburo's clips, they only give Roburo used the studio for New Year's spank, but not anniversaries. I see.